It is in our DNA to explore, to find places off the beaten track. It is what draws us to places like the Kimberley and Cape York. But a few of us talk about the Great Australian Bight. It is one of the most remote, challenging and beautiful areas of Australia. A plan is set to follow some of the tracks of Europe's early pioneers. Hema provided a pair of land cruisers, set up for remote work with added fuel capacity, onboard water, extra electrical power, and almost every piece of ARB protection and road recovery gear on sale today. Behind the cruisers are 2 prototype campers from the innovators at Zone RV. You might think that taking prototypes on a 9,000 kilometre return trip that includes days off-road is a bad idea, but with Cruisemaster suspension under the heavy-duty chassis and practically bulletproof bodies up top, their makers are confident this torture test is the perfect intro to the new release campers. The team's journey begins in Brisbane with a quick bolt inland to Inaminka, a fast-paced run down the Strzelecki and onto the Eyre Peninsula where the trip is to begin in earnest.
I'm driving the Hema 76 Series Land Cruiser. Now it's set up for touring with a heap of ARB gear on board, and I'm towing a Zone Expedition Series camper. Now off-road where it really matters, we're on Cruisemaster ATX airbag suspension. I'm a big fan of ATX, I've used it a lot before. Not only can I level the camper off on a campsite, but I can also adjust the airbags to soak up bumps off-road.
And I am driving the Hema 79. This is a vehicle that they extensively modified for overland travel. I think the thing that stands out in my mind is just how well the suspension performs. We just did some pretty technical driving with rocks and steep hill climbs. So this has been really fun. It's been a great couple days.
We just come across this pretty awesome section of sand dunes near the beach. So I thought we'd take the opportunity to check out how the vehicle and trailer setup goes before we head a long way from civilization into the unknown.
Officially in the Bight, the crew has ticked off the first goal, seeing the Southern Ocean meet Australia.
It's great to be here at Cape Cano. This place feels like Land's End, which I think is pretty fitting given it's the most eastern point of the Great Australian Bight.
One of the things that's most interesting about this area of the country is the fact that we're going to be able to drive for so many days along the beach.
Just rolled into Ceduna. This is the very last main resupply point before the next 1,200 kilometres across to Esperance. That's going to be completely off-grid, running through a full vehicle check. It gets pretty real from here, and we're going to have to be pretty self-reliant.
Fowler Bay is another historic stop for anyone interested. The history of whaling is on display through ruins and the long famous jetty. But for anyone keen on dune driving, it is also a good stop. The dunes are the only way to access Point Fowler. From the Fowler's Point camp, the team planned to get to the WA border town Eucla, travelling on unformed roads under the Cooper's tyres.
We've headed west through the Mallee country. This fence is quite unique in that it's actually the longest fence in the world, and this fence is a dog-proof fence or the vermin-proof fence that stretches from here pretty much all the way back to where we've come from, over 3,000 kilometres. Just have a think about how much wire, how many poles, how many man hours and weeks and months and years of work it took to get it to this point. So many layers of history in one place. The whales that migrate through here every year, the bird life. There's layers of human history with exploration from air, of course communication history where this used to be a telegraph station, all packed into one tiny little museum in a really remote place. Quite amazing.
After a few days in the bush, an unfamiliar sight came: paved roads.
Yeah, I realised that we've come halfway across the Great Australian Bight. Some pretty amazing relics on the old air highway. So today we are heading to the border village. We're going to refuel at Majura and then head down a section of the old air highway and along the beach to a pretty special place called Twilight Cove, and plan to make camp there tonight.
The tracks and beach driving into Twilight Cove are challenging, but not insurmountable, with the right people and vehicles. Enter the Old Telegraph Track, WA's Old Telly, a well-marked track on Hema Maps and HX1 navigators. The track is overgrown, narrow, and nowhere to pull over if you met another traveller.
Tough on tyres is terrain. I don't think that Band-Aid's going to cut it somehow. It's a little bit what we call buggered. So I think that one's coming off. I think we might have caught a stump on the way past.
You got a copy, Rob?
Yeah, copy, Tim.
Hey man, how are you finding that airbag suspension on these corrugations?
Smooth as silk, buddy. It's going great. I found the suspension fabulous the whole trip. It just seems to adapt to every kind of terrain. How's the suspension going in your trailer?
These coils are pretty good. I mean, they're not as smooth as the airbags when I was towing out the other day, but it did pass the no broken eggs test. I had a look before, and so far all the food in the back is sitting nice and snug. Scott, you got a copy?
Yeah, go for Scott.
Yeah, Scott, I just hit something.
Just got to check under the trailer.
Tim, what happened?
Oh man, I got distracted with this.
Whoa. Everything all right?
It looks fine. This thing's tough as nails, safe as houses. I'll reverse up a little bit, we'll pull it out and we'll check it again.
That sounds good. Jeez, that is quite the rock.
The challenge is taking its toll on the expedition campers from Zone RV and the crew.
Today has been a challenging day. We're still driving and it's nearly 10 o'clock p.m. So it's taking its toll. We are hearing squeaks and rattles from these trucks that we didn't hear at the start of the trip. But this is also why we're here. This is because they are challenging and they are difficult. And that's the reason why others don't come here. This is why we're adventurers.
If you search for Bilbunya Dunes online, you get a couple of outcomes, but the ones to take your breath away are those between Point Culver and Point Lorenzen. They look as tall as skyscrapers and never ending. From Bilbunya, there are a couple of options to get to Point Malcolm. The team chooses the harder and more spectacular option, the coastal route. At Israelite Bay, the team stops at the old telegraph station, a spectacular set of ruins. A short drive further on Point Malcolm track, and the crew made it.
It's been a long way to get here. We've seen some of the most amazing scenery any of us have ever seen. All the trucks, especially the trailers, have made it through.
Remote locations, long distances. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here and to have experienced this beautiful part of Australia.
Once back in Brisbane, the team makes the final stop at Cruisemaster to talk about how the band's performed.
We just got back last night from our 8,000 kilometre round trip. I was absolutely amazed at how well these trailers towed, and it's a combination of the lightweight body, the really strong chassis, and then the Cruisemaster suspension underneath.
So Cal's just getting into the XT now. So far, no issues. I think the extent of the damage is we've lost a grease nipple. So I think 9,000 kilometres of rough terrain, you're going to be pretty happy with that as a result.
The ATX suspension was a breeze to run. We were able to pump up the tyres. It made the campsite setup really easy. We set the ride height in the morning and it just towed beautifully.
The team did it. Over 5,000 kilometres from Brisbane, following the footsteps of some of our greatest explorers, they saw the best the country has to offer and had it almost all to themselves. For anyone looking for the ultimate remote tour, it is one of the best.